as the first light of dawn kisses the rolling hills of Tuscany. Bella pedals through her serene village, the aroma of freshly baked bread mingling with the sweet scent of grapevines. Her tranquil morning takes a fateful turn when a chance encounter with a charming stranger sets her heart adrift. In the embrace of the Tuscan countryside, a simple bike ride unfolds into a journey of unexpected romance and timeless beauty. Welcome to Sleepscape Journeys, your go-to sleep stories for grown-ups, where you can escape into nighttime tales of wonder and relaxation. I really hope you enjoy tonight's romantic sleep story, inspired by one of my favorite love songs of all time. That's Amore by the late Dean Martin. If you have not already, and if you enjoy hearing more sleep stories on this channel, please remember to like and subscribe. I recommend turning on notifications as I try my best to upload as often as I can. As always, your comments are appreciated, and I honestly look forward to reading them. Now, let's get comfy, cozy, and relaxed before our romantic sleep story for grown-ups with tonight's relaxation visualization. Picture yourself awakening in a cozy bedroom nestled within a rustic Tuscan villa, perched atop a gentle hill overlooking the serene countryside below. Close your eyes and take a slow, deep breath in, imagining breathing in the fresh morning air into your lungs. See the soft pastel hues of dawn greet you, casting a warm glow across the landscape. Through the window, you behold the silhouette of a quaint village nestled amidst rolling hills, its rooftops adorned with terracotta tiles catching the first rays of sunlight. The scenery unfolds like a canvas brought to life. Vivid vineyards sprawl across the land, their emerald tendrils glistening in the morning light. In the distance, a silhouette of an air balloon sails gracefully across the sky. Beyond the vineyards, fields of golden wheat sway gently in the breeze, while olive groves dot the horizon, their silvery leaves shimmering in the early light. In the distance, the majestic peaks of the Apennine Mountains stand sentinel against the horizon, their rugged contours adding a sense of grandeur to the tranquil scene. A profound sense of peace washes over you as you immerse yourself in the quiet beauty of the Tuscan morning, a moment of serenity amidst the bustle of life. Take a few more deep breaths, letting yourself soak in the peaceful surroundings. With each exhale, feel any lingering stress or worry drift away, leaving you feel more relaxed and at ease. Now, let's escape into tonight's romantic sleep story for grown-ups. On this picturesque morning, the azure sky stretches overhead, adorned with billowy white clouds drifting lazily across the heavens. The tranquility of the Tuscan countryside envelops me as I set out, with only the melodic chirping of birds and the distant tolling of a church bell to accompany my journey. The gentle embrace of the sun bathes the landscape in its warm glow, casting dappled shadows along the winding roads that meander through the Tuscan hills. As I pedal along the sandy dirt road, flanked by rows of majestic cypress trees, their dark emerald foliage stands in stark contrast against the soft hues of the rolling hillsides. Vibrant red poppies dot the roadside, their delicate petals dancing in the gentle breeze as I glide past. Ahead lies our family-owned bakery, nestled amidst ancient stone buildings adorned with weathered facades that tell tales of generation past. Wrought iron balconies overflow with vibrant blooms, their colors echoing the vibrant spirit of the Tuscan countryside. Past the town square, I will be greeted by the sight of an iconic earthstone granite fountain, a symbol of timeless beauty and community. 4 graceful Grecian maidens stand sentinel, their stone forms weathered yet elegant, as they pour water into the basin below. Beneath them, 4 regal lions spout water into the pool, their stoic expressions mirroring the serene atmosphere of the square. Within this idyllic setting, where time seems to stand still, I'm reminded of the simple joys of life in the Tuscan countryside. Each moment spent in this tranquil haven is a cherished gift, and I feel truly blessed to call this place my home. Before making my way to the bakery, I often find myself drawn to a nearby vineyard that has recently been put up for sale. It's a peaceful spot, once lovingly tended by an older couple who decided to retire and move closer to their grandchildren. Their story is well known in our tight-knit community. They used to call me Little Bella and warmly welcomed me as I pedaled through their vineyard. Growing up here, I've developed a deep fondness for this place. The sweet scent of ripening grapes and the dew-kissed leaves shimmering in the morning light, and the soil always moist from the sprinklers that come to life at dawn, holds a special kind of magic. As I pedal past row after row, admiring how much the grapes have grown since my last ride through the vineyard just a week ago, I look to the sky, still admiring how free the blue sky makes me feel. Suddenly, a dilute calico tabby cat darts past my bicycle, causing me to lose balance Seemingly right behind its tail is a sleek greyhound that chases it through the vineyard, slipping just under the grapevines. Trying to brake swiftly as they dart by, I end up falling off my bike with a nasty scrape on my shin under my dress from the pedal. At one end of the grapevine field, I see a well-dressed man racing through the lane, trying to locate the dog, yelling for it to stop. And now he's running towards me. "Are you okay?" he asks. "Can I help you up?" I'm so sorry, the little knucklehead got all caught up in the chase. Leaning towards me, he tries to help me off the ground. "I'm okay," I say, wincing from the pain in my shin, where a bit of blood now stains the bottom of my dusty blue dress. He picks up my bike and hands it back to me apologetically. Distracted by my wound and brushing dirt off my dress, I finally look at him once I've cleaned up a bit. He's wearing sunglasses, so I can't see his eyes well, but he carries himself confidently. He's dressed in a fitted white dress shirt, untucked, blue chinos, and dark brown loafers. His light gray blazer unbuttoned with the sleeves rolled up makes him look like a businessman. Despite the sunglasses, I can tell he's quite attractive, and I become self-conscious, unconsciously tidying my hair from my face. We make eye contact as he removes his sunglasses, revealing deep-set eyes the color of the insides of ripened summer blueberries. He has a chiseled jawline with a 5 o'clock shadow, adding to his overall attractiveness. His well-defined eyebrows frame his eyes, accentuating their intensity. His tousled dark hazelnut hair adds a touch of casual charm to his demeanor, exuding a sense of effortless style. With an athletic physique characterized by muscular arms and a sculpted chest, he is undeniably handsome. My heart skips a beat as he offers his hand to help me up. Limping slightly from the pain in my shin, I accept his help, and he lifts me without hesitation. Taken slightly aback, I stand up straight and purse my lips, but manage to assure him that I'll be okay. "Thanks," I say. "Is there anything I can do?" he asks, his voice sincere. Still a little flustered by his attractiveness, I reply, "No, I'm fine, thank you." And I proceed to get back on my bicycle, trying to calm my nervousness and to make a swift exit. "All right, again, I'm so sorry," he calls out to me as I ride away. For the rest of my bike ride, I couldn't help but replay the moment in my head. Half of me wondered why he didn't have a leash on his dog, but the other half was captivated by his dreamy blue eyes, tousled hair, and rugged stubble. I kept hearing the words, "undeniably handsome," echo in my mind. It took me a few minutes of riding to realize and ask myself why he was even in the vineyard. Perhaps he was a traveler hiking the countryside who lost control of his dog. Oh well, a pleasant yet fleeting encounter, likely never to happen again. As I got off my bike and made my way into the bakery, I read our storefront banner, Vita Bella, Artisan Bakery and Custom Cakes. My parents had named me after the shop. Yes, Bella. I loved the name of our store. It meant life is beautiful. and within the Tuscan countryside. It truly was. Now it was just my father and me running the shop. Originally, we were just a local bakery selling Italian bread and pastries. But as I grew up, I developed a passion for cakes and slowly built a reputation for custom cakes in our small town. It was my passion. I loved taking all the fresh ingredients, whipping everything into a bowl, and baking tiered cakes. My favorite and most meditative part was planning and designing the intricate details of a custom cake. As I entered the bakery, the fresh aroma of bread that Dad had already begun to bake early this morning filled the air. Luckily, I had made my delivery before my unfortunate, or maybe fortunate, run-in at the Vineyard. Often I made special deliveries around our small town on my bicycle. It was just part of the slow pace of living in the countryside, and people here enjoyed the personal touch of the deliveries. Dad smiled as I walked in. He was busy kneading dough and didn't seem to notice my dirty dress or scraped shin. That's okay, I thought to myself. It was better for him to be distracted by his work than lost in a far-off gaze, as he often was. I suppose he was still thinking of Mom. It had been 5 years, but with all the photos we kept around the house and pinned on the bakery walls, it always felt like she was still here with us. Even I preferred to keep busy rather than let my thoughts drift into gloomy, uncharted territories. As I began to clean my wound and place a band-aid over it, the door swung open. In stepped Stephanie, the local wedding planner, always dressed in a formal business dress and heels, with her designer bag and clipboard in hand. She rushed over to me, where I sat behind the glass display of pastries and bread. "Hi, Bella dear, so good to see you. I'm in a bit of a rush, but needed to place an order for a client's wedding in a couple of weeks. Lots to do and lots to plan. I'll need some designs from you by Friday. I'm going to need a bit more catering from you as well for this one." She took out a crumpled piece of paper from her Louis Vuitton purse and handed it to me. "All the details are here. I'll text you, but read it over and we'll talk." And with that, she was out the door. It was typical for her not to wait for a response. As she said, all the details were on the paper. The small piece of paper noted the address of the vineyard I had just ridden through. It also mentioned that I was to meet Stephanie and the clients there in a couple of days to discuss the custom cake and pastries they wanted for the wedding. Stephanie often had high-end clients who required extra care and attention. I felt excited. It was always fun to see what type of wedding they were planning and how I could artistically and creatively incorporate my cake designs to match the vision of their event. As I stared at the piece of paper, I noticed something was missing from my wrist. I knew exactly what was missing: my mother's bracelet. It must have dropped during the fiasco at the Vineyard. A sense of panic leaped into the pit of my stomach. How could I have lost it? It was a beautiful white gold bangle bracelet with a fan-shaped motif where the bracelet closed, decorated with a malachite insert and paved diamonds. It was beautiful, and it was my mother's. I had to go and find it. I told my dad I had to run out for an errand and hopped back onto my bike, trying to retrace my steps. My mind was racing as I scanned for the shiniest of objects while riding back down the dirt roads, fervently searching the underbrush by the sides. I rode all the way back to where I had fallen in the vineyard, but to my bitter disappointment, I couldn't find it. I felt like crying. It felt like a piece of my mother was being taken away from me again. I couldn't believe I had lost it. The next morning, Dad and I went through our daily routine of preparing bread and pastries at the bakery. The lost bracelet was still very much on my mind, but the soothing smell of baking bread and working the dough with my hands helped induce a sense of calm. A steady flow of patrons came in and out. It was quite a busy day. By late afternoon, it had slowed to a trickle. An overcast sky hinted at the promise of rain. Still upset about the bracelet, I felt like I needed an escape. And the best kind for me was a good book. After closing the bakery for the day, I headed straight to the local bookstore in town, ready to find a book before the rain. The thought of curling up in a cozy, warm bed with a good book as the rain poured outside was comforting. As I walked through the village, down the cobblestone pathways to the bookstore, I saw a dog tied to a parking pole. A greyhound. Could it be that dog from the other day? I thought. The dog looked miserable, tied up and waiting outside, only lifting its brow to look at me and back down again. I recognized that look. The dog would probably only perk up once he saw his owner. I smiled a soft smile before entering the bookstore. Oh, how I loved the smell of books and the neat rows of shelves lining the books up in an orderly fashion. As I headed to the fantasy genre section, he caught my eye. There he was, the man I had seen the day before. So the cute greyhound outside did belong to the dashing stranger. He was himself perusing the bookshelves and looking handsome, his soft gaze upon the open book and a slight smile on his lips as he flipped the page. He glanced up briefly before closing the book and reaching for another on the shelf. Our eyes met for a split second, and I quickly looked away, my heart skipping a beat. I ran my fingers through my hair, pretending to be absorbed in the books before me. Gathering my courage, I looked up again, but he was already focused on a new book. Nervously, I continued down my aisle, telling myself to stay calm. When I glanced back, he had moved to a different section. But as I turned to head back, there he was, walking straight toward me. Hi, I thought it was you. I still feel really bad about what happened, he said nervously, rubbing his forehead with his fingers. How are you doing? I opened my mouth, but no words came out at first. His striking blue-green eyes and the light pink of his lips left me momentarily speechless. His 5 o'clock shadow looked slightly thicker now. I swallowed and finally managed. Don't worry about it. Water under the bridge, trying to sound casual as I smiled. That's a relief, he said, his eyes searching mine. "I'm Alex," he continued, pausing for a moment. Extending his hand, he added, "I'm new in town, and I just didn't want to start off on the wrong foot. If there's anything I can do to make it up, please let me know." He took a deep breath and then smiled warmly. My goodness, he was good-looking and seemed genuine. I hesitated for a moment before deciding to tell him that I might have lost a bracelet during our little collision and asked if he had seen it. His eyes seemed to light up at our continued conversation, but dim slightly as he regretfully answered that he had not seen a bracelet on the ground after retrieving his dog in the vineyard. "Well, I thought I'd ask. I just can't seem to find it now," I said, my gaze naturally falling to the floor. "I promise I'm not a pickpocket," he joked, but quickly added, "Sorry, I just crack jokes when I'm nervous." A blush spread across his cheeks as he ran a hand through his tousled hair, avoiding my eyes. Did I hear him correctly? I thought. Either he's genuine or not as smooth as I imagined. Trying to lighten the conversation, I glanced at the book he held. "Find anything interesting to read?" I asked in a curious and somewhat playful manner. "Oh, just a beginner's guide to photography," he said, flipping through the pages. "How about you? What brings you to the bookshop? Anything you'd recommend for a newcomer in town?" Our conversation flowed easily for the next 20 minutes. He was really easy to talk to. Initially, we chatted about trivial things, but the quick smiles and lingering eye contact hinted at a growing connection between us. It wasn't until he noticed the window panes of the bookstore dripping with water that we both realized it had started to rain heavily outside. Wow, when did that happen? I can't leave Blue out in the rain for too long. I better get going. It was really nice talking to you and meeting you. But I don't think you told me your name, he said, slowly walking backward toward the entrance, his eyes locked on mine with a cheeky smile. "Bella," I replied. "And yeah, it was really nice to meet you too." "That's a really pretty name," he said, pausing and looking into my eyes, casting a lingering spark as he made his way toward the exit. Before turning away completely, he said, "And I'm going to take you up on that offer next time. I'll have to try one of your dad's famous pastries." "Right," I said, smiling at him as he walked away, feeling a flutter in my heart I hadn't felt in years. It was like a dream, that wonderfully anxious feeling where my heart fluttered so fast it felt like my feet were off the ground. For the next couple of days, I couldn't help but glance at the door each time someone entered Vita Bella, hoping Alex would fulfill his promise to visit the bakery. But patron after patron, it was never Alex. Even Dad noticed my behavior. "You keep looking at the door like you're expecting someone," he said. "Not really, just not really," I replied. "I've never seen you so fixated on the door," he laughed. "Do you have plans tonight or something?" I wish, I thought to myself, with Alex. "Not really, Dad. Actually, I'm supposed to head over to the Vineyard. Stephanie asked me to meet with her clients about their custom cake order. I should probably head out soon." I had almost forgotten about that appointment, with my mind so preoccupied with my encounter with Alex at the bookstore. I decided to take my bike again, making haste for the appointment. I thought it would take some time to look for my missing bracelet on the way there. Maybe, just maybe, I could spot it. As I pedaled up the Vineyard's driveway toward the estate manor at the end of the road, I noticed that the for sale sign now had a sold sticker. Wow, I thought to myself. Someone had purchased the vineyard. I guess that makes sense, since a wedding would be taking place at the facility. As I neared the estate, I was surprised to see Alex stepping out of the doors of the vineyard's manor. Beside him was an attractive woman with her hair neatly in a bun, wearing a flowy coral pink dress with glasses resting atop her head. She laughed with him, placing her hand gingerly on his arm in a flirtatious manner. I scoffed internally. Well, I guess I should have figured he was seeing someone. They finished their conversation, and she handed him a set of keys before waving goodbye and heading to her vehicle parked in the driveway. That's when Alex noticed me, walking my bike up to the house. "Bella?" he asked in surprise. "Yeah, you should be surprised, flirting with every woman you see," I thought to myself. Boy, was I overreacting. Possibly. "What are you doing here?" he asked, excitement gleaming in his eyes. "I'm meeting someone. Apparently there's a wedding happening here, and I'm making the cake." Suddenly it crossed my mind. Could Alex be the groom for this wedding? The thought flickered briefly. "Oh, right, Stephanie. I can take you to her," he said quickly with a cheerful smile. "What are you doing here?" I asked, dreading the answer, hoping my assumption was wrong. "I'm getting married," he said. My eyes widened and my mouth dropped slightly. But before I could speak, he laughed. "I'm kidding," he said. "Sorry, I have a funny sense of humor. Actually, I bought the vineyard. And now I guess I'm the new owner. And I already have a booking. It's crazy," he said, his voice filled with excitement and pride, as if he was just realizing it himself. Inside, I was relieved that he was joking and surprised that he was the purchaser of the vineyard. "Congratulations, that's wonderful," I said. He led me into the manor and through the estate to the back patio, where Stephanie and the couple were sitting, ready for our appointment. "It was great to see you. I've got to go, but maybe I'll catch up with you later," he said. Wasn't that what he said the other day? I thought to myself. "Yeah, sure," I replied politely, but inside I was a bit skeptical. Besides, he's probably going to catch up with what's-her-face in the pink flowy dress outside. "Focus," I told myself. "You're here for this couple's dreamy wedding cake designs." The next morning was beautiful, with the sun shining and wispy white clouds drifting across the sky, casting a golden sheen over the rolling countryside. The bakery was, as always, filled with the warm, cozy fragrance of baked bread and buttery smells that filled the space as it came to life. A steady flow of patrons came to purchase their daily loaves of bread and coffee break pastries. Dad busily cleaned the kitchen equipment in the back while I stood at the till, wishing I was outside riding my bike through the winding countryside. I began sketching more design ideas for the couple's wedding cake at the Vineyard when someone entered the bakery and placed a bottle of wine on the countertop. "That looks amazing," he said. I instantly recognized the voice. He came, although slightly perplexed by his visit since seeing him with that other woman the day before. "Thanks," I said, looking up at him, still beaming from his presence. The sunlight streamed in through the bakery windows, casting highlights across his ruffled hair and giving his blue eyes a shimmering green quality as we gazed at each other for a moment. "I brought you some wine, and as promised, I've come to try those pastries," he said, smiling. "Oh, you didn't need to bring anything," I said, my tone betraying my unenthusiastic thoughts of him with the other woman. "I'm sorry I didn't come earlier. The purchase and the possession of the vineyard had a few complications with the deal and bank stuff I had to handle," he explained, sensing my aloofness. "Is everything okay?" he asked sincerely. "Yeah, just had a long day," I lied. "So what can I get you?" I added, trying to sound friendly and normal. "Can I request a smile?" he asked jokingly. "I'm sure you say that to all the ladies," I replied, half joking, but without really laughing. His face looked puzzled, as if silently asking, "Am I missing something?" But he replied, "Not really, just to you." I ignored his comment and pulled out some pastries I had suggested to him the day we talked at the bookstore, placing them in a brown paper box. "Let's call it even. I'll take the wine and you can take the box of pastries," I said with a forced smile. "Thanks," he said, and as if wanting to continue the conversation, he added, "I got that book you recommended, and it's really good." He paused, waiting for me to engage with him, as I had at the bookstore. "Oh yeah, that's great," I said, ending the conversation there. There was an awkward pause for a moment, then he spoke again. "Actually, I was wondering if you could come to my grand opening this weekend at the Vineyard," he asked, pausing to gauge my reaction. "I'm inviting all the local vendors and hoping they'll drop by. I want to get to know the community," he added, as if to soften the blow of a potential rejection. I hesitated at the invitation, but Dad strolled over and eyed the bottle of wine on the counter. "She'd love to," my dad said, then proceeded to shake his hands and engage in an awkward greeting. Dad nudged me in the ribs as Alex said, "Great. I'll see you both there." He looked for my gaze, but I still didn't completely meet his eyes. No, just Bella. But thanks for the wine," Dad said with a smile. As Alex left the bakery, I turned to Dad and shook my head. "He's already seeing someone," I said, rolling my eyes. "How would you know? He looks like a good guy to me, and I can tell he's quite fond of you," Dad replied. "Stop it," I said. "It's good for you to get out sometimes, Bella. You're always stuck here with your old man. You're young. I remember the first time I saw your mother, and he began to recount their story of how he knew she was the one the moment he laid eyes on her. I had heard the story 100 times, but it was nice to see Dad talking about Mom, so I just smiled and laughed encouragingly. Seriously though, Bella, I know things. I'm your dad, he laughed, patting me on the shoulder before heading back into the kitchen to tend to the oven. Just then, 2 travelers strolled into the bakery. They weren't locals, but vacationers in the area, gossiping as they looked into the glass display at our breads and pastries. "We are definitely stopping by that vineyard this weekend," one of them said. "Not just for the wine, but for the owner. Did you see him? He is cute." The other woman giggled and nodded wide-eyed in agreement. "Definitely a highlight," she said. I ended up convincing myself to go to support a local vendor in our community. That was my justification for going, not to see Alex, who I had not stopped daydreaming about for days. I was just going to stop by to be nice. Nice Bella, your friend Bella, I told myself. Still, I found myself putting on a tad extra makeup and wearing a lovely gray-blue midi dress with a v-neck, half sleeves, a pleated top, lace stitching, and 4 buttons down the center. It was one of my favorite dresses and perfect for visiting a vineyard event. I paired it with a light cream-colored suede pointed toe kitten heel pumps with a light golden cushioned sole that always made me feel like I was stepping into a shoe that Cinderella would wear. Was I trying to get Alex's attention? I convinced myself that I was not, but I wasn't entirely sure if I was being honest with myself. The vineyard looked stunning, with outdoor patio lights hung from the manor to the cypress trees strewn across the front landscape. He had set up wine barrels with different bottles of wine, small sampling cups, and charcuterie boards. Romantic music played on what sounded like a vinyl record player in the distance. Alex was busy pouring glasses of wine for guests and mingling with others. Many of the townspeople and tourists visiting our small town this weekend had gathered around him. As he finished talking to one of the visitors, I saw him look around as if searching for someone, until his eyes landed on me. His face lit up, and a soft, genuine smile spread across his face. He began to head toward me, but was stopped by the pretty woman I had seen the other day when I came to the vineyard for the wedding cake clients. She started talking to him, and he gestured to me with one finger, asking for a minute. He nodded at her, half listening, as his gaze kept shifting to me. I began to stroll around, looking at the display of wines and snacks on the barrels. Occasionally I glanced over, seeing the pretty woman still trying to get Alex's attention, placing her hand on his shoulder when she laughed. It was clear she was quite fond of him, and he seemed to smile politely back at her. I started wondering why I had even bothered to come. Glancing over at them again, I couldn't help but notice her lean forward and kiss him on each cheek, whispering something into his ear, and rest her hand on his forearm before slowly allowing him to leave her side. Alex tried to come over to talk to me, but a few more visitors stopped him. First, a man who seemed interested in how the wine was preserved and the cost of a bottle, and then a woman who also seemed interested in purchasing a bottle, but also laughed nervously at almost everything Alex said. However, it was the pretty woman who kept coming to my thoughts. Who was she to him? Were they dating? She seemed very affectionate to him, and now I had spotted them together twice. Lost in my own thoughts and having poured myself a sip of wine to taste, I finally saw Alex making his way over to me. He took a deep breath of relief with an ecstatic sparkle in his eyes from the excitement of his new venture. "I'm so happy you could make it," he said, looking at me. "I wasn't sure if you were going to come. The event is almost over, but I have to make a speech. Then I'll be right back. Promise you won't leave?" he added, searching my eyes for reassurance. "Sure," I said, nodding. Alex was quite busy for the rest of the event, but he always seemed to be searching for me, giving me a smile as he ushered guests and answered their questions. I started to grow weary, waiting and feeling silly. With the way things were going, he would probably be busy for quite some time. The pretty woman kept hanging around him, mingling with him as he talked to visitors. I decided it was time for me to go. What was the point of staying? I had done my duty as a supportive local vendor, and the night had grown tiresome for me. I made my way back into the village area. The shops had all closed, and Dad had probably gone home for the evening. For a while, I found myself meandering along the cobblestone pathway, dimly lit by warm street lanterns and the glowing moon above. The stars twinkled like diamonds on a midnight blue blanket. Suddenly, I heard someone coming quickly behind me, their footsteps echoing on the cobblestone. "Bella," he called, slightly out of breath. Alex began speaking. "I saw you leave, but it took longer for me to wrap up the event than I thought." He looked into my eyes, the warm light from the nearby lantern highlighting the shadows on his face, almost as if we were seated together over a candlelight dinner under the moon and twinkling stars. "Sorry, you looked busy, and I thought you wouldn't notice," I said. "It seemed like you had a lot going on." He looked at me for a moment, as if wanting to say something, but at a loss for words. I just wanted to give this to you. I found it today while I was setting up for the event," he said, pulling something from his pocket. It was my mother's bracelet. "I remember you telling me about this at the bookstore, and I had been looking out for it. I actually found it, so I wanted to return it to you. I could tell it meant a lot to you." I was in shock. I looked at the bracelet and back at Alex, feeling a resounding happiness radiating from my chest. "Thank you so much," I said as I took the bracelet from his hands. "You don't know how much this means to me." In my thankfulness, I briefly forgot about the pretty woman who seemed to be by his side for most of the event. Instead, we enjoyed an evening stroll together under the Tuscan moonlight, talking about the event, his dreams, and mine as well. there was definitely a connection between us. But I couldn't shake off the nagging thought about who that woman was in his life. Why had he not mentioned her, even now, as we strolled under this romantic ambience? As we neared my house, I felt the urge to ask him about the woman who had been by his side for most of the evening, chatting with guests beside him. It took him a moment to register. I thought maybe he might be coming up with a story, but he seemed to be trying to remember who I was referring to. Oh, her. She's my realtor. Actually, my realtor's assistant. She wanted to garner some business tonight at the event. She's quite a talker, that one. She's also quite pretty, I said out loud. A sense of relief washed over me, knowing that she was not his girlfriend or partner. But for some reason, I still wanted to state the obvious. You think so? He asked, turning to look more closely at me. I think that you are pretty, especially when you smile, he said, pausing and looking into my eyes again. I felt the heat rush into my cheeks and grow warm. The moon cast a gentle glow over us, illuminating the sincerity in his eyes. I looked down at my mother's bracelet, now sitting rightfully upon my wrist again, and then back at Alex. Thanks again for returning this to me, I said, standing on my tiptoes to give him a gentle peck on the cheek. The warmth of that moment under the moonlit sky, with the quiet chirping of cicadas in the garden bushes and the twinkling stars above, created a sense of magic in the night. Can I see you again? Not at the bakery, but tomorrow night for a date. I can come pick you up at 5, if that works for you, he asked, his voice filled with hope. I smiled, feeling a flutter of excitement. That sounds wonderful. Yes, 5 p.m. would be perfect, I replied, my heart brimming with anticipation. As I turned to head towards the front door of my house, we called goodnight to each other. I could feel his gaze on me until I disappeared into my house and shut the door behind me. Inside, I leaned against the door, a smile spreading across my face. The night was filled with promise. As I prepared for bed, I felt a deep sense of contentment and anticipation for what tomorrow might bring. The next day passed in a blur of activity at the bakery, but my mind kept drifting to thoughts of Alex and our upcoming date. I left Dad at the bakery to close up shop as I headed home to prepare. As 5 p.m. approached, I found myself nervously adjusting my dress, brushing my hair one last time, and fidgeting with my mother's bracelet. Then the doorbell rang. As I opened the door, there he stood, his back turned to me, but he quickly turned around as the door opened. Our eyes met, and he looked adorable in a white dress shirt under a fitted dusty blue V-neck pullover and dark gray trousers. He held 2 helmets by their straps. With his free hand, he reached for mine and led me around the bend of my house. To my surprise, Alex had brought a stunning white horse, already saddled and ready for a ride. The horse's coat shone like pristine snow, and its mane and tail flowed gracefully. The sight of the white horse against the vibrant poppies and lush green earth was enchanting. "How about a ride to the vineyard?" Alex suggested, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "I've never ridden with someone before," I admitted, feeling both curious and a bit nervous. "Don't worry, I'll steer the horse. Just hold on to me," Alex assured me, helping me get onto the horse behind him. As I settled into the saddle, the warmth of his body enveloped me, and I wrapped my arms around his waist, feeling the solid strength of his muscles. The earthy, subtle scent of his cologne mixed with the fresh aroma of the vineyard, creating a heady, comforting blend. The horse's smooth, steady gait lulled me into a sense of calm, its powerful muscles moving gracefully beneath me. The closeness of Alex and the rhythmic motion of the horse combined to create a magical experience. The setting sun cast long shadows across the vineyard, and the air was filled with the sweet scent of ripening grapes and rich soil. It felt like we were in our own private paradise, the vineyard stretching out before us like a beautiful, endless tapestry. "You're doing great," Alex said over his shoulder, his voice calm and reassuring. "Thank you for this," I replied, my heart swelling with affection. "It's perfect." As we continued our ride, I couldn't help but ask, "What made you decide to move here and buy this vineyard?" He paused for a moment as if gathering his thoughts. "It's a bit of a long story, but I'll keep it short. My grandparents used to own a vineyard in another part of Italy. I spent my summers there as a kid, learning about winemaking and falling in love with the countryside. When they passed, the vineyard was sold, and I always felt like a part of my childhood went with it." He glanced back at me, his eyes reflecting both nostalgia and determination. "I've always dreamed of owning my own vineyard, of reconnecting with those memories and honoring my grandparents' legacy. When I found this place, it felt like the perfect opportunity to bring that dream to life." As he spoke, I could sense the depth of his passion and the sincerity in his words. The combination of his story, the tranquil setting, and the intimate moment we were sharing made my heart swell with a profound sense of connection. This evening ride under the Tuscan sky felt like a moment out of time, one that I would cherish forever. His words resonated deeply with me. As we rode, my thoughts drifted to Vita Bella, the bakery my parents had opened when they fell in love and got married. They had named it after me, their little Bella, as a symbol of their love and dreams. After my mother passed away, working at the bakery had become more than just a job. It was a way to keep her spirit alive, to feel her presence in every loaf of bread and cake we made. "I understand completely," I said softly. My parents opened our bakery when they got married and named it after me, Vita Bella. After my mother passed away, working there has been my way of keeping her spirit alive. Every time I bake, I feel connected to her, as if she's right there beside me. Alex fell silent, and I could sense he was deeply contemplating my words. Once we arrived at the vineyard, Alex tied the horse to a tree nearby. He offered it water and prepared a bucket of feed. I watched him pat the horse gently, as if thanking it for carrying us both safely. There was a kind-hearted spirit that resonated with Alex as I saw him interacting with the horse. He then led me to a section of the vineyard where he had hung outdoor patio lights across the lanes and draped a soft picnic blanket on the ground. A wooden crate had been flipped over to serve as a table, with dishes, napkins, utensils, and an unlit glass lantern set on top. He asked me to wait while he grabbed something from inside the estate. With a small whistle, his greyhound Blue came dashing into the field, but moving swiftly and quietly so as not to startle the horse. Blue came over, sniffed me, and licked the backs of my hands reassuringly, as if welcoming me. He then lay down beside the picnic area as if he knew that was his place. Alex had clearly put thought and care into the picnic dinner. As we settled on the cozy blanket beneath the vineyard's canopy of grapevines and patio lights, the early evening sun casting a warm glow over everything, I couldn't help but marvel at the spread before me. From the wicker basket, he revealed an array of beautifully arranged dishes. There was a fresh, vibrant salad with mixed greens, cherry tomatoes, slices of ripe avocado, and a sprinkle of feta cheese, all drizzled with a light balsamic vinaigrette. Next to it, a loaf of crusty artisan bread, still warm, begged to be torn apart and savored. Alex then uncovered a platter of assorted cheeses and charcuterie. Thin slices of prosciutto and salami were artfully arranged alongside wedges of aged cheddar, creamy brie, and tangy blue cheese. Fresh figs, clusters of grapes, and a small jar of local honey completed the arrangement, inviting us to mix and match flavors. We enjoyed our picnic under the vineyard's twinkling lights and the setting sun, the warm glow adding a magical touch to the evening. The meal was delicious, the company even better, and I felt a sense of contentment I hadn't experienced in a long time. For the main course, Alex had prepared a marinated grilled chicken, its golden skin crisp and fragrant with herbs. He paired it with a side of roasted vegetables, colorful bell peppers, zucchini, and red onions, all caramelized to perfection. To drink, he brought a chilled bottle of white wine, its light, fruity notes complementing the meal perfectly. He poured each of us a glass, the crystal clear liquid sparkling in the late evening light. For dessert, Alex had packed a homemade tiramisu. its layers of espresso-soaked ladyfingers and mascarpone cheese dusted with cocoa powder. The sweet treat promised a rich and indulgent end to our meal. As we enjoyed the delicious food, the peaceful setting of the vineyard, and the thoughtful care Alex had put into preparing the meal, the experience felt truly romantic. I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of appreciation and affection for Alex, the connection between us growing stronger with each shared bite. He honestly seemed too good to be true. As we savored the meal, lost in the peaceful ambience of the vineyard, the sound of a car approaching broke the tranquility. I looked up to see a sleek silver car pulling up nearby. A woman stepped out, her posture confident, but her eyes betrayed a flicker of annoyance as she noticed me sitting with Alex. "Sophia?" Alex said, surprised, standing up as she approached us. "Hi, Alex," she replied briskly. Her gaze lingered on me, sizing me up with a hint of displeasure. "I just came by to drop off some paperwork." Sophia's eyes scanned the picnic spread, taking in the intimate setup. She handed Alex the paperwork with a bit of a shove, her movements sharp. "Thanks," Alex said, taking the papers from her. "Sophia, this is Bella. Bella, this is Sophia, my realtor's assistant." Sophia offered a tight, forced smile. "Nice to meet you, Bella," she said, her tone polite, but edged with coolness. "Nice to meet you too," I replied, sensing the underlying tension. Sophia turned her attention back to Alex, her expression softening slightly. "I thought you might need these tonight," she said, her voice carrying an unspoken question. "But I see you're busy." Alex nodded, not missing the implication in her words. "I appreciate it, Sophia. I'll look over them later." Sophia hesitated for a moment, her eyes flickering back to me, then back to Alex. "All right, I'll leave you to your evening," she said tightly. She gave a curt nod and walked back to her car, her steps brisk and purposeful. As the car drove away, Alex turned to me with an apologetic smile. "I'm sorry about that," he said, sitting down beside me. With a sigh of relief at seeing Sophia leave, he said, "I'm so glad I'm here with you tonight." He cast me a gentle smile. As twilight cast its blue hour glow over the vineyard, Alex lit the glass lantern and placed it gingerly upon the overturned wooden crate. He sat down, looking up into the night sky, anchoring his arms behind him as he leaned slightly backward with his palms supporting his incline. "Vita Bella," he uttered softly. In that moment, as we sat there together, his last words lingered in my thoughts. I couldn't help but think about how we met and the moments that had led to this romantic evening. Our chaotic first encounter in the vineyard, where his dog and the stray cat caused me to fall off my bike, now felt like a charming twist of fate. His genuine concern and the way he helped me up had stirred something within me. Our unexpected meeting at the bookstore had deepened my curiosity and attraction. Despite the rain pouring outside, the warmth of our conversation and the connection we felt had left a lasting impression on me. His kindness in finding and returning my mother's bracelet had touched me deeply. Now, sitting together under the serene Tuscan sky, with a gentle breeze carrying the fragrant aroma of ripe grapes and rich soil, I felt a profound sense of peace. The moon cast a soft glow upon his face, while the diamonds in my mother's bracelet sparkled gently in the lantern's light. Taking the same position, we both gazed up at the twinkling stars above, with a heart full of gratitude and joy. I whispered in reply to his last words, "Yes, life is beautiful."